What's going on, everyone? It's Justin here, and today we're checking out the brand new ASUS Zenbook S16 with the latest generation AMD Ryzen AI 9 processor. This can be spec'd up to the HX370, and it's the latest generation of x86 PCs from ASUS, and I'm really excited to talk about some of the performance, efficiency, and also a ton about the design. So, for starters, as you can see, this computer looks absolutely incredible. It embraces elements of thinness, portability, power, and efficiency, along with great battery life and the ability to customize the experience the way that you like as you use it, and paired with that is a beautiful 16-inch OLED display. Recently, I had the chance to go to the ASUS headquarters in Taipei during Computex, and there I got to see all of the different design elements, steps, and iterations that go into the precision aspects of designing this incredibly beautiful laptop. I have a video talking about Computex, seeing all of the releases of the ASUS VivoBook S16, S15, as well as the Zenbook S16, and the ROG Ally X, and all of the behind the scenes. And so if you guys would like to go ahead and check out that Taipei Computex video, I'm gonna drop a link down below, and in that video, I actually give away an ASUS Zenbook S13 OLED. And I wanna give a huge thanks to ASUS for sponsoring this video. So for starters, you take a look at the exterior. It is made out of a aluminum design, and it is a composite of both ceramic and aluminum. Typically, computers are very well known to use a ton of aluminum, and that has been a material that really has no issues at all. I personally love computers and their aluminum finish, but they tried to address a few different things when it comes to durability, fingerprints, and also making it minimal and elegant without being too busy, and I think they've achieved that here. This is in a Scandinavian white color, and the cerulean design just makes the computer feel a little bit harder. There's no bend on the top here, and as you press it down, it just feels a bit more solid, and that comes from the ceramic element, but at the same time, it also gives the computer a really good level of fingerprint and scratch resistance by having a smooth finish. And personally, I think the cerulean in the Scandinavian white looks the best. But you can also pick it up in a dark gray option, and I think this looks pretty good for those who maybe not fan of like the lighter one, but you really can't go wrong with either. And I feel like this material, especially with its nice geometric lines, has some nice touches to it without the logo being too big. This computer comes in at just 1.1 centimeters of thickness and 1.5 kilograms of weight, which makes it extremely competitive in the world of ultra light computers, while having a ton of power, which we're going to talk all about in a little bit. You take a look at some of the other little features on the side. It has just enough thickness to fit a full-size USB-A port, as well as a full-size SD card slot. And on the other side, you have two USB 4 Type-C ports and a full-size HDMI with the headphone jack for good measure. And honestly, it just goes to show that there's really no excuse for laptop manufacturers to not integrate all of the necessary ports and then some, because ASUS has been able to demonstrate it not only in the Zenbook S16, but throughout the entire lineup. As you open it up, there's also some other design elements. You have the little CNC machined aluminum microbeads on the top that you may not notice at first, but when you take a closer look, it is a hole within a hole. And this ensures good, efficient ventilation while ensuring none of the exterior elements of dirt and grime get into the actual aeration vents right here. It does remind me a lot of like a micro version of what you might find on the Apple Mac Pro and the Studio Display XDR. The trackpad is also very large and responsive and goes right up to the edge of the keyboard. In addition to that, you can also control certain things by sliding up and down along the right trim. So that is a really good touch in terms of increasing the functionality invisibly on the trackpad. And as you know from ASUS, they've tried many different things in the past to increase the utility of not only the trackpad, but also the keyboard. As to the keyboard itself, it is also one that is nice to type. I do find that through extended periods of use, it does get a little bit warm, and so the amount of ventilation I feel like could be improved a little bit along the sides, and I usually like to see some speaker vents, especially on 15 and 16-inch computers, not only from a cooling standpoint, but also from an audio experience. As for the sound experience, that is also something that I'd like to talk about, because as I mentioned earlier, I would have liked to have seen dedicated speaker grills on the side here, given that it is a 16-inch computer. But instead, they're actually integrated down here on each side, and I can tell you that the sound quality is actually a lot better than I expected. It features 6 Harman Kardon speakers, as well as Dolby Atmos and Dolby Vision compatibility. And honestly, as you're enjoying multimedia on this beautiful OLED display, it is a really solid speaker given its arrangement. It actually displays out the side here and pushes it in a direction outwards instead of facing down. But I think in conjunction with speakers through the keyboard, it can really elevate that experience. So from the display side of things, this right here is an OLED screen, which is great for multimedia as well as productivity. And it is an ASUS Lumina OLED display with a 16:10 aspect ratio and a 3K resolution. And on top of that, it has a peak brightness of 500 nits. And so you're able to really communicate with the computer in multiple ways, not only through the big trackpad, plugging it to the monitor via the full-size HDMI, but also touching the screen and using the pen and drawing things. And this display is just beautiful. The refresh rate is also 120 Hz, and so that is going to be useful for day-to-day navigation and fluidity. And for those who do a little bit of gaming, that can come in handy as well. But I wouldn't say this computer is really targeted for anyone who is primarily looking to do gaming on the laptop. It really is a productivity-focused machine that has the x86 architecture, gives you great battery life and power. But most importantly, the extreme portability is just its biggest selling point, because it is just impressive how much power they've been able to fit into a computer that is this thin. And it's something that we're just starting to see a little bit more and otherwise has not been able to be done before. On the inside, you have a few different options. You have the ASUS Ryzen AI 9 HX365 as well as the HX370, and right here I have the HX370. It also has AMD Radeon integrated graphics, up to 32 gigabytes of LPDDR5X RAM, and you can spec it up to 2 terabytes of fast internal storage, but you can also take advantage of the full-size SD card slot on the side if you need to expand your storage in a relatively seamless way. So from a performance standpoint, this computer is really able to rival some of its like competitors, such as the Apple M3, the Snapdragon Elite X, which is on an ARM platform, but on the top end of a very portable integrated graphics computer on the side of x86. And I mean, what AMD Ryzen has been doing for the past few years has been really impressive, and this computer is the latest example of giving you a new era of power in such portability. Of course, for those who are looking to do like dedicated video work, you do want to have a dedicated GPU as well, but this computer, in its form of having it integrated within, as well as the HX370, really is impressive. I was able to do video editing in 4K as well as batch photo editing. And if you're someone who does a lot of coding, and especially for those who work in the professional field using Windows computers and for schooling, you're going to love this, because part of the reason why you go with a computer like this is for its portability and its battery life. And what's great about it is that you can actually choose the different levels of wattage that you would like the computer to operate at, from an efficiency standpoint to a full performance standpoint. By default, this computer runs at 17 watts, and at its peak, this processor is able to go above 50 watts. And so if you have it plugged in at a desktop setup and with a power brick, you're able to get that maximum power, but when you're on the go, you can adjust it accordingly depending on what you prioritize. And so what I will say is that at the end of the day, this computer is able to give you great performance, not only at home, but also on the go, but it still has more to unleash. And so the power of the processor is actually above what this given chassis and form factor is able to allow based on its thermals, which is good. But at the same time, you have to know what you're buying this computer for, because you may be expecting the maximum power out of the HX370. And in that case, you'd want to go with perhaps a computer that is a lot thicker. But at 1.1 centimeters, it has really been able to maximize what you're able to get out of a portable Windows computer in 2024. And from a performance standpoint, it really does check all of those boxes. As for battery life, how exactly is it? So this computer features a 78 watt-hour battery, and it is really good in conjunction with the CPU and the GPU. And that is what really stands out with this computer particularly, and its conjunction with AMD technology and their latest generation chip, which is focused on efficiency. As I mentioned, this chip is capable for more when it comes to a wattage perspective that you can get on a larger form factor. But what is important and why this chip makes a lot of sense is that even at its max power, based on its given chassis of a portable laptop, it is able to give you an incredible battery life. The battery life is really one that stands out to me because this computer is one that you would think has a lot of compromises, but I really don't find that. The processor power is really good, the graphics is definitely there, and when it comes to stuff that I typically do on a laptop, which isn't a primary use case, I find that this is able to handle that. And for those who don't exactly want to jump over to like an ARM platform just yet, it's a really compelling option, especially with its amazing hardware. The battery life is going to be something that is subjective. Some people are going to get multiple days of usage, whereas others will get about a full day. And I can tell you that with a hybrid use case of using it on like a daily basis for some productivity work, as well as some multimedia enjoyment, you should get about a full day, if not a tiny bit more. It is really comparable to the Intel Evo, if not a little bit better. And I find that I have a lot less experiences with AMD Ryzen computers, but I'm starting to like them a lot more. The new processors are a solid step forward in the x86 architecture, and it really gives you that perfect blend of performance, power savings, and design. There are definitely some computers out there that are going to be more powerful when you get the dedicated GPUs, and there are going to be computers that are going to be thinner, but this sits right in the middle, giving you the best of both worlds. As always, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to go ahead and drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all in the next one.